Hi Zoe, my name's Chris Watkin and I help letting and estate agents attract new clients to their letting and estate agencies.
So obviously for the young people that might be watching this, could you sort of give us a brief explanation of what that entails?
Okay, so if in this world, if you want people to buy anything from you, the best way to do that, people don't like to be sold to in this world, but they do like to buy, is creating content which is attractive to people, whatever. And the best way to do that is create content on social media, be that videos or be that written words or pictures, which are of interest to your potential client, and they'll be attracted to you. You know, there's a lot of people reading this, watching this at the moment, will be following Instagram stars and people on TikTok. They're all using a method called content marketing. By creating content, they're attracting people to it. Some people call it influencers. So you could almost say is I help estate and letting agents become social media influencers in their town. And no, Zoe, I don't do TikTok dances. So, I mean, when I left school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I went on work experience and went to an estate agent and thought, oh, that, you know, going around the countryside, having cups of tea and looking at houses sounds great. So I went to college and then university and learned how to be like a professional estate agent. They're called chartered surveyors, but they're estate agents with qualifications. And then just went to be an estate agent, and then realised after about 10 years that if I wanted to attract people to my agency, I had to write stuff that was interesting to them. And it kind of evolved from that.
So the traditional route, Chris, is generally what happens is your parents say to you, you must do your GCSEs, A-levels and go off to university to get a degree, and that's how you're going to succeed in life. Is that pretty much what happened to you at school?
Yes. What I would say to everyone watching is that you do need your qualifications because it gets you through the door. But once you're through the door, they absolutely mean nothing at all. And again, that might be controversial, but once you've got your job, they mean nothing. But you need those qualifications to get through the door, which is an absolute pain in the what's name, because you think, what the hell am I doing history or geography for in Oxbow Lakes? One thing that I want to just tell the guys and girls out there is I think there's a lot of pressure put on you kids to decide what you want to do when you're 18 years old or even 16 years old. And my advice to you is just because you want to do something at 18 or even 16 doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're going to do when you're 30 or 40. And my advice to you is if you want to go out and be a solicitor, go and be a solicitor. But if at the end of the day, after 2 years, you don't want to be a solicitor, then go and try something else and go and taste different things. And you are going to get a lot of pressure from your parents saying, well, you should be settled down and know what you're doing by the age of 23, 25. I know I don't look it, but I'm 49 years old and I really only got into my stride in my mid 40s. And I think the magic thing is that we all worry too much about what other people think about us and what we're doing. And I think as a youngster, just go out there, enjoy life. Yes, you have a responsibility to yourself to put food on your table and put a roof over your head, but don't worry too much whether the career path that you're going down is the right for you. Go and test it, taste lots of things. I mean, it's like going for food. If you looked at oysters, you think you're disgusting, but if you go to try them, you'll find out they're lovely. But you might then, just different things. Go and, I wouldn't worry too much, I think, Zoe, what am I trying to say? Don't worry too much what other people think about you. Go and taste different jobs, see if they're for you or not whilst you're young, because you might just find something that you really want to do.
So, sorry, Chris, going back to the content marketing then, is this something you think you fell into, or do you think it was always something that you wanted to do? And
absolutely fell into it.
So,
and it's really interesting that I've actually been made redundant twice. And again, those of you watching will be made redundant in your life. And when you do get made redundant, I don't know if you've ever been made. Have you ever been made redundant, Zoe?
No, I've been lucky.
Okay, I tell you here and now, at the time, it really, the what's name hits the fan, and you think it's the end of the world. But sometimes, as a good friend of mine says, sometimes the best presents come badly, the worst wrapped. And I think sometimes, if I hadn't been made redundant, then I wouldn't have moved on to the next part of my career. And if you actually look back in life, then you'll actually see that everything's come to, everything I had to do one thing, I want to do the other. I think the other big thing that I'm going to say is, and again, Alicia, I don't want to know what your age is, Zoe, because you should never ask a lady her age, but I'm 49 years old, and I'll tell you here and now, I still feel like a 21-year-old in my head. I know I've got a few extra grey hairs, and there's the two things that I wish I'd have learnt when I was younger is hard work pays off, because nothing in this world comes without hard work. But the other one, which is probably as important, it is patience and playing the long game. I find it amazing that we can look back 2 years and go, oh my word, that doesn't seem like 2 minutes. But if you actually say, right, for the next 2 years, you're going to do this. And I speak to an awful lot of people in their early 20s, mid 20s, and they want to succeed really, really quickly. There's only one way to win to an overnight success, and that's winning the lottery. Everything else is damn hard work and patience, playing the long game. And sometimes taking one step back to go two forward is the way forward. And if there's one thing that I would say to everyone watching this is, please, if you can get your patience. It's really interesting that when we were younger, you know, when you had to go out on a date with someone, you actually had to go up to them and ask them. Now you guys, you can just swipe right or swipe left. It's so easy for you guys. And this, everything is so instant, with instant TV and instant shopping, and everything's instant. But there's no app out there that will teach you how to, that will get you trust. And in this world, this one thing is, if you want to go into business or do something, trust is the main thing that you can have as a human being, because that's what all business and all relationships are based on. And you have to earn trust, and that takes time, which comes back to patience.
I mean, that's really wonderful advice you've got, that you're giving us there today, Chris. And I've not needed to ask many questions, which is always a good sign. Going back to the role that you have, if somebody did want to get into it, I mean, because you've obviously given some great advice, but if they wanted to be a content marketer, how would they, where would they start? If they're at school now, what sort of things should they be doing?
Okay, so if they're already, you know, so really what you've got to decide is, what content do you want to be the king of or the queen of? So I love property, so I write about the property market. They might be interested in collecting dinky toys or whatever, the Cabbage Patch doll kids or whatever. And you know, my advice to you would be is as a youngster now is whatever you are really into, okay, and that could be collecting anything or following a football team. Create a blog or create a podcast or do videos on your passion. But whatever you are passionate about, create a written blog or a podcast. Or, you know, with a podcast, you can download an app called Anchor. It's free of charge. And I mean, I actually stood on stage using the Anchor app, and within 3 minutes, I'd set up an iTunes podcast and a Spotify podcast, because Anchor sorts it all out for you, all within 3 minutes. So you download the Anchor app, you press the button. What do you want to call your blog? Collecting Cabbage Patch Doll Kids, whatever, you know, and then you record content which is of interest to other people that might be interested in Cabbage Patch Kids. And you might say, well, is there going to be a business there? You don't know. I mean, there's you know, when I were a lad, we used to collect little football cards, little football stickers. They now go for thousands of pounds. Now, you wouldn't have known that 20 years ago, but if you'd set up a podcast, if that technology was around, you'd be the king or queen of football cards now, and you could basically make money from that. So follow your passion, create content, that stuff that you're interested in, and chuck it out there. You'll have people that you also know that that have follow your passion. There'll be rooms and podcasts and other such forums like that, and just create content which is interesting to the other people, and play the long game, like I said, and eventually you'll win. And even if you end up that Cabbage Patch Kids is not your thing in the end, or whatever you collect, what you learn by doing that, you can then put, when you're in your 20s and your boss says, I need to sell more houses, or I need to sell more widgets, or I need to, whatever your business is in, you could take those learnings that you did from your podcast and say, hey, why don't we set up a podcast or a videos? I did these as a child. I've got lots of experience, and now all of a sudden your boss will think you're a social media guru, and they'll let you get on with it, and then they'll throw lots of money at it, which means that you can buy lots of things. And I know money's not important, but at the end of the day, it does buy stuff. That would be my advice, Zoe.
Thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate the advice you've given there.
You can type in my name, Christopher Watkin, into YouTube, and I've done over 1,500 videos. But again, I'm not sure if the guys watching it would be interested, because it's all about helping estate agents get more clients. But you'll see the sort of stuff we do.
Gives you an idea. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.